prior to the passage of this important bill, we will find that on campuses there will be small, designated, confined areas that were free speech zones. Where
I just want the audience to know, Demetrius is understating what he's describing to you. I went to the Florida Atlantic University campus in Boca a couple of years back when they were playing with this idea, and it was literally a sliver of grass. It was like something you would see, that what they call a tree pit, that little piece of grass and dirt on a sidewalk where they plant a small tree. That's where they expected students to exercise their free speech right. Demetrius, am I kidding about this? They were really around that small.
I'll take it a step further, John. Florida State University, and I'm using them as an example because they're located only blocks away
from the capital,
capital in Tallahassee.
Yep.
They were one of the worst areas. They're one of the worst schools. They had one of the worst ratings for free speech.
Wow.
What they would have this area where you can advocate, you can protest, you can talk about what you believe in, but it's a small area. First of all, it's not really visible to the student body, and it's a place where you're kind of shut out from whatever's going on around campus, and it's unconstitutional. Also,
they stick it on the fringes, sort of out of sight, out of mind. We don't really believe in this. We have to do it. Let's stick them over here on the outskirts of the school.
I also want to point out an important factor here. This has to do with the outdoor areas of campus. This has nothing to do with inside. The reason why I bring this up is because the left and people who oppose this, the common thing that they always brought up in opposition was Richard Spencer, who, first of all, when he went to UF, he really was not wanted by the student body. Second of all, he was in an inside area and a rented space. That has nothing to do with free speech zones. I'm just bringing that up because the left...
No, listen, it's a really important... I'm glad you did, because most people don't understand the nuances of these bills, and it's critically important to understand that you weren't asking for an intrusion into spaces inside the school to disrupt classrooms. All you guys were asking for was a viable piece of outdoor real estate that was visible, that was accessible, and that could hold more than 3 people.
Well, we're just asking that the state of Florida adhere to the Constitution.
You know what? You're right. I retract. You just want the state of Florida to adhere to the First Amendment.
The entire campus body, the entire state of Florida, and the United States, for that matter, is a free speech zone.
That's right.
What's very humorous about this is that in my testimony to the Florida Senate and House, and every time someone would question me or question those who are in support of the bill, they will always ask, well, are you in favor of Richard Spencer, white nationalists, and KKK? Now, John, I don't know if you've noticed lately, but I've been black for 32 years.
You know, you're a little backlit. I didn't know if it was a silhouette or, but right. I mean, but isn't that a ridiculous? I mean, let me ask you a question, Demetrius.
Like the ideal spokesperson for the KKK.
Apparently, exactly. And I mean, but let me ask you a question. Don't you, as a young black man, and I even hate to use that description, but it applies here. Doesn't it offend you that they would try to insult your intelligence by dragging that out and conceal the broader issue that you were there as a First Amendment crusader, a nonpartisan constitutional crusader? I mean, isn't that offensive to you?
You know, John, I've been involved with politics and policy for quite some time. So during that time, you do have to
develop a thick skin, right?
Skin. So it doesn't offend me, but what it just shows the height of arrogance and the height of ignorance for people to always go back to the race card, to regurgitate false claims of racism and suppression just because there's a point of view that is opposed and differs from them. Instead of having a good intellectual, honest debate, an exchange of ideas and perspective, there's always falling back to the proverbial race card every time that someone says something that doesn't agree.
You know, I agree with you, and I'll take it a step further. I mean, you're being far more eloquent than I'll be, but I like it when one of the things I love about the First Amendment, is that it allows morons and Nazis and racists to expose themselves. Far better than I could ever do on air. I'm the biggest proponent of letting anyone say anything they want, because there is no better way to judge someone's character than by what comes out of their mouth when they're left to their own devices. Why would anyone ever want to limit that? If you're intellectually honest and you're fearless, why wouldn't you want the person you most disagree with If you truly feel they're a racist, they're a neo-Nazi, they're whatever you may want to label them, why wouldn't you want them to put their position out there for the world to judge?
Well, like you, John, I believe that you have the right to be a moron and an idiot, and I also believe to expose it. Listen, at one point in time, American heroes and icons such as Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks. Think of the civil rights movement.
Right.
At one point in time, they were deemed controversial.
That's right.
Their speech was labeled radical and extreme. But where would our nation be? Where would our nation be? Where would our country be? Where would the generations that followed them be if it wasn't for that controversial free speech?
I want to keep bringing you this really important content every day, so help me do that by subscribing to our premium service at www.therebel.media/shows. Also, go to your app store, download the outstanding Rebel app,